Hi, I'm Jack Zhang, and welcome to the first of my Warship overviews. Today I will be covering the USS Wasp, CV-18. Before we begin, here are a few acronyms that you will notice throughout the video. Laid down as Oriskany on March 18, 1942, at the Fore River Shipyard in Quincy, Massachusetts, CV-18 was renamed Wasp after the sinking of the previous Wasp, CV-7, by a Japanese submarine in September 1942. Fore River built Wasp in 17 months and launched her on August 17, 1943. Like her fellow Essex-class carriers, Wasp displaced 27,500 tons with an overall length of 872 feet and a beam of 93 feet. She had a top speed of 33 knots and a range of 15,440 nautical miles at 15 knots. To defend herself against enemy planes, Wasp was armed with 12 5-inch 38 caliber guns and 4 twin and 4 single mounts, 40 40mm Bofors and 10 quad mounts, and 55 20mm Oerlikons in single mounts. As for her offensive capabilities, Wasp could carry 90 to 100 aircraft, including 36 F-6F Hellcat fighters, 36 SB-2C Helldiver dive bombers, and 18 TBF Avenger torpedo bombers. After commissioning, Wasp spent the remainder of 1943 on shakedown. She then sailed to Trinidad, where she trained for much of early 1944 before heading to Boston for minor alterations. On March 15th, Wasp headed for the Pacific. She transited the Panama Canal 6 days later and reached Pearl Harbor on April 4th. After a month of training in Hawaiian waters, she joined the Fast Carrier Task Force and left calling cards at Marcus and Wake Islands in late May. She also attacked the Mariana Islands in preparation for Operation Forager. Together with planes from other carriers, Wasp aircraft bombed Japanese defenses on Saipan throughout June and provided air support for the Marines fighting ashore. A few days later, she participated in the Battle of the Philippine Sea, the largest carrier battle of the war, which pitted 15 American flat tops against 9 Japanese flat tops. Nicknamed the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot, the Battle of the Philippine Sea was a decisive American victory because the Japanese lost somewhere between 550 and 645 aircraft, 3 carriers, and 2 oilers. In contrast, the Americans lost fewer than 130 aircraft, most of which ran out of fuel on their way back from a twilight airstrike on the fleeing Japanese fleet. Wasp emerged from the battle unscathed, and she sailed to Eniwetok in the Marshall Islands for rest and replenishment. On June 30th, she set out to sea again to attack Chichijima and Iwo Jima in the Volcano Islands. Her carrier group destroyed 75 enemy aircraft between July 3rd and 4th and caused major damage to enemy installations. Shortly thereafter, Wasp and her cohorts attacked Guam to pave the way for Marine landings there in mid-July. That same month, she also attacked the Palau Islands before retiring to Eniwetok in early August. Following a 28-day rest period, she sortied with the 3rd Fleet against the Palau Islands in southern Philippines in September, namely Mindanao and the Visayan Islands. Apart from a short stop at Manus in the Admiralty Islands in late September, Wasp spent the next month or so attacking the Ryukyu Islands and Formosa. Though the Americans downed 500 enemy aircraft and sank 20 or so cargo ships, they lost 89 aircraft plus a large number of aviators. A pair of cruisers, the USS Houston, CL-81, and the USS Canberra, CA-70, also sustained serious torpedo damage and had to withdraw. A week or so later, Wasp launched more sorties against the southern Philippines to support the American forces on Leyte. She then retired on October 22nd to Ulithi in the Caroline Islands to refuel and rearm. As a result, she missed the pivotal Battle of Leyte Gulf between October 23rd and October 26, 1944. By the time her carrier group returned, the Japanese had already been defeated. Nonetheless, Her planes participated in raids on Luzon in early November that destroyed over 400 Japanese aircraft. This continued until the end of the month, when the Army Air Force relieved the Navy of air support duties in the Philippines. In December, the Third Fleet attacked Luzon again, despite worsening weather conditions. While attempting to refuel at sea on December 17th, it steamed into Typhoon Cobra. For 2 days, it battled 100-mile-per-hour winds and heavy seas, losing 3 destroyers, 100-plus aircraft, and almost 800 lives to nature's wrath. Many other vessels sustained varying degrees of damage and had to return stateside for repairs. However, the fleet as a whole weathered the storm. After spending the holiday season at Ulithi, it resumed attacks against Luzon and the Ryukyu Islands in early January 1945. Between January 10th and 20th, the fleet ventured into the South China Sea and devastated enemy shipping and coastal targets from Hong Kong to Saigon. Following a change of command, whereupon the Third Fleet became the Fifth Fleet, Wasp headed north toward Japan in mid-February. Over the next month or so, the fleet alternated between raiding targets on Honshu and supporting the Marines on Iwo Jima. During these attacks, Wasp's flyers downed many enemy planes and damaged several warships. Simultaneously, Wasp endured almost constant kamikaze attacks, and her gunners fired more than 10,000 rounds of ammunition at attacking planes in only a week. However, this was not enough to prevent an enemy pilot from hitting her with a 551-pound bomb on March 19th that inflicted 102 casualties. Amazingly, she was back in action only 27 minutes later, thanks to the skill of her crew and the quality of American damage control. Subsequently, Wasp headed stateside to the Puget Sound Navy Yard in Bremerton, Washington for repairs. Arriving on April 13th, she was under repair for the next 2 months. While in the yard, workers mended the damage and installed 7 additional 40mm quad mounts, giving her a total of 68 Bofors. Fully restored to fighting condition, Wasp got underway on June 9th for Pearl Harbor. After a 1-month stop there, she set sail for the Western Pacific on July 12th. By this point, American forces had secured Okinawa and were on the doorstep of Japan. Throughout July and August, aircraft from Wasp and her fellow carriers struck targets across the home islands, encountering virtually no resistance from Japanese fighters. Having expended a large number of kamikazes in the Battle of Okinawa, the Japanese were hoarding their planes for the expected invasion of Kyushu. Nonetheless, Wasp did have 2 close calls on August 9th and August 15th. On both occasions, her combat air patrol sent the attackers crashing into the sea before they could damage her. Interestingly, the latter incident occurred the same day that Japan agreed to surrender, so either those pilots did not get the memo, or they acted of their own accord. Whatever the case, the cessation of hostilities meant that her planes no longer needed to attack enemy targets. Consequently, they began flying mercy missions, airdropping supplies to American prisoners of war. Around this time, a typhoon ripped through the fleet on August 25th, smashing in 30 feet of her flight deck. Yet she remained on station and was still active when Japan formally signed the Instrument of Surrender on September 2nd, 1945.